James Reese is a commander in the armed forces. One day, when he comes home, he finds the dead bodies of his wife and kid. They are mercilessly killed by a very big businessman named Stephen Horn. So, James attacks Stephen Horns with full preparation. Firstly, he explodes the car of Stephen with a blast which burns half the face of Stephen, and then kills the bodyguards of Stephen one by one. As James is a highly trained armed officer, he doesn't take much time while reaching for the head of Steve. When James is about to shoot Stephen, he starts pleading for his life. But James doesn't show any mercy and shoots a bullet straight in the head. A few days back, we see when James is in the army, he gets intel about a terrorist group Kahani whom James' team has been chasing for many years.
We got the green light to move on Chemical Kahani.
So, after getting the confidential intel, James quickly plans an attack on the terrorist group named Kahani along with his team. They go to a foreign land and pass through the tunnels to reach their destination. But suddenly, they are attacked by many armed people. It was a trap for James's team.
We've got heavy contact rear. They need backup.
And no one survived that attack except James. One of the soldiers panicked and started running. For that reason, he causes the explosion by touching the secret wires into the water. Now, when James is back in his own country after losing his whole team, he is being questioned by the higher officials about the incident. They want to know about the soldier who caused that explosion.
The ordinary, but they were armed loyalists waiting to ambush us.
But James continuously covers for that soldier and doesn't want to make his own soldier get disrespected after his martyrdom. The higher officials get James checked medically and then send him home for some time on vacation. James reaches a bar and drinks with his friend.
When we do, we're gonna scalp them.
And then leaves for home. There, he meets with his family after a long time. The following day, James receives a call informing him that his friend has committed the unthinkable who was drinking with James last night.
Yes, sir. I'll be right there.
When James goes to the scene, he is told that his friend committed 2 days ago, but James knows that he was with him last night.
I was with this man yesterday, and he was fine.
Also, James's friend was shot by some other gun and not by the gun which his friend loved. James tells all these things to his friend Ben. He suspects that someone has killed his friend as they had killed his whole team earlier. Later, James meets with Admiral Gerald and tries to convince him that the terrorist group Kahani is targeting James and the people who are close to James.
Sir, it is my belief that this was a targeted attack on Alpha.
But Admiral Gerald thinks that James' mental health is not good. That's why he is speculating all these things. After that, when James returns home in his car, he feels that he is being followed.
I feel better.
So, he goes with the gun and opens the door of a car that has been following James. But it's a press reporter, Miss Katie Buranek,
Jesus Christ.
inside who wants to talk to James privately. Katie wants to cover the story of James, but he is not interested in publicizing his own story. In the meantime, James continues to experience headaches and flashbacks.
I think something happened to me on that op.
So he goes to a clinic for a checkup. When James is inside the MRI machine, he is again having flashbacks of the operation in which his whole team was killed. Suddenly, the doctor who is doing an MRI stops talking with James, and he feels something unusual. When James comes out of the machine, he sees 2 men with masks on their faces inside the MRI room. They are pointing guns at James, and they have already killed the doctor. In his self-defense, James attacked them. They have a fight, but, in the end, James is able to kill one of them and also injures the other. He takes the gun from them and leaves the MRI room. He sees that the gun in his hand is actually his own gun which he keeps in his own locker in his room. Also, the locker is fingerprint locked. James thinks that if the assassins could reach for his gun, then they could also hurt his wife and the kid. So, he calls his wife to be cautioned, but she doesn't attend the call. So, James quickly drives his car towards his home anxiously. Unfortunately, when he reaches the home, he sees that his wife and kid are already dead and lying on the floor. This is a big shock for James as he has nothing else in his life except his family which is now gone. After that, the investigation officer, Josh Holder, suspects that James might have killed his own family as his mental health is not good position. He starts asking questions from James about his gun and the locked safe in his house.
How do you think these assassins got into your safe?
When James goes to talk to his higher officials, like the Admiral, he comes to know that they also suspect James. Meanwhile, Katie is interrogating the matter on her own as she needs a story for her channel.
You want a witness statement? It's yours, if you could tell me what the hell happened in there.
Officer Josh Holder tells her that he has not found any bodies at the crime site where James fought with the assassins in the MRI room. Also, he tells her that James's mental condition is not reliable.
Yeah, but not like a man ready to kill his wife and kid.
On the other hand, James suspects Officer Josh Holder because he was the first person who reached the crime scene. He must be the one who cleared all the evidence from the scene to present James as mentally disturbed. Also, James thinks that the eyes he saw behind the mask of the assassin on that night are very closely looking like Josh Holder's eyes. So, James starts investigating Josh Holder. He also breaks into Josh's house and copies all the data from his laptop, but he finds no evidence in the data of Josh's laptop. Now, the only way to find out if Josh is the culprit or not is to ask himself. One night, James breaks into the house of Josh again. He points his gun at Josh Holder and asks him to speak the truth. As his own life is at stake, Josh blurts out that he has been receiving orders from someone named Saul Agnon. In return, he is getting money in his account.
Doing my job, I was assisting on Odin's sword.
Moreover, he doesn't know why James' family was murdered and who murdered them. After listening to all this, James kills Josh Holder on the spot. Back at home, James researches Saul Agnon on the internet and prints out all the details about him. Then he packs up the necessary things for himself,
significant reductions in lifetime deployments,
like guns and money, and then leaves the home in his car. On the way, he meets with Katie in a restaurant, who tells him everything about Josh Holder and Saul Agnon.
Agnon, he's the VP of Asset Management.
But Katie also believes that James is hallucinating after the trauma he has gone through. Katie shows the reports of James' MRI, which was done on the night of his attack. The MRI reports say that there is a tumor in the brain of James.
It's a tumor, Reese.
Which is causing pain and flashbacks for him. During their conversation, James suddenly feels that someone is keeping an eye on them. He quickly takes Katie with him and runs from that restaurant. In his car, James reverses the vehicle and crashes it with the car behind. Then, he comes out of the car to check if the assassin is dead or not. Suddenly, there are gunshots on him, but James saves himself and shoots the assassin dead immediately. However, James was right all the time, because this time, Katie was with him, and she was also experiencing everything. James checks the car of the assassin and finds a file there, which he takes with him and leaves in his car with Katie. In the file, there is a complete target package for James. Someone had hired that assassin to kill James.
It's a professional target package.
Meanwhile, James' friend Ben is keeping an eye on Saul Agnon. He is checking all the activities of James's enemy. At night, when Saul Agnon is alone at his mansion with minimal security outside, James attacks him. He covers the mouth of Saul Agnon with a plastic bag and makes him unconscious. After some time, when Saul Agnon comes back to his senses, he sees that he is completely naked and bound to the chair. James asks him to reveal all the details about the murder of his family and the team, but Saul Agnon is also a toy in someone else's hands.
On fucking timing, I didn't do anything!
He doesn't know all the details but reveals the name of his boss, which is Stephen Horn. He is a billionaire businessman with many high contacts. It was Stephen Horn who planned the death of the team of James, but Saul Agnon doesn't know why.
He's a SEAL commander. Have some respect.
Saul Agnon also reveals the name of his legislative who hired some hitmen who killed James's family. He talks about a secret thing named RD-9485, about which Saul Agnon has no knowledge.
Project RD-4895.
But Stephen is doing everything for that thing. After that, James and Ben plan their next move. First, they are going to target the hitmen who murdered the family, and then they will go after Stephen Horn. James takes his sniper gun and goes into the forest. He sets the target and shoots straight at the head of the legislative of Saul Agnon when he is going in his car. James then goes to his car and copies all the data from his phone. There, he finds the information about the hitmen who killed his family. Later, James makes a plan with his friends to attack the hitmen. The place where hitmen are hiding is full of gangsters. Also, those gangsters are hiding some refugees there inside the building. So, James go there with his whole team fully prepared. He attacks the gangsters one by one. He has also set up a sniper who is helping James's team while fighting with the gangsters. James and his team free all the refugees from the hands of gangsters, and then go inside for their boss. Eventually, James captures the man who killed his family. He rips his belly apart and pulls out his intestine. In this way, James takes the revenge of his family, but still, the revenge of his team remains. After that, James spends some quality time with his friends. He hands over the sniper gun of his father to a friend, and asks him to take care of it until he returns.
How about you hold on to her till I'm back?
Meanwhile, FIA has also been involved in the case of James Reese. And they're trying to stop James from causing any other casualties. But James is researching about his next target, Stephen Horn. He is capturing all the moves of his enemy and making a plan to kill him. Also, Katie has come to know about James' next attack, so she is trying to get information about Stephen Horn's company. She wants to know what Stephen Horn had done in the past using his uncommon influence and contacts. She reaches out to the CEO of a pharma company who is working with Stephen Horn at the time.
What's RD4895?
The CEO tells her that Stephen has made a drug named RD8495 with the help of his company. The drug's use was to remove the feeling of trauma from the brains of living organisms. The trials went well on the animals, but the trials on the humans were not allowed. Stephen used his connections to secretly do the trials on the team of James. Unfortunately, the drugs caused the growth of tumors in the heads of those soldiers.
If you think my drug caused tumors in those SEALs...
So, Stephen planned to kill all of them so that the matter could be closed before it came to the public. To his bad luck, James was able to survive that attack, so Stephen then planned to present him as a mentally sick person by showing that he killed his own family. The CEO also promises Katie to fetch the evidences from the company of Stephen, and will give them to Katie so that she can write a report on it. He goes to a computer and copies all the data in a drive. The data has the names of all the persons who have shared in the project drugs. Later, when he goes to give that drive to Katie, he is shot dead by a man of Stephen. Katie kills the assassin in her defense, and then runs off. He meets James outside, who takes her to a safe place and asks Katie to give him that drive. James wants to kill all those people who were behind those trials, but Katie wants to expose them to the public. In the end, James snatches the drive from Katie and leaves. He is still in the pain of the death of his team. That's why he can't leave the people behind their killings. When he checks out the drive, he is shocked by knowing that his own officials were included in that secret trials on the soldiers. The Admiral himself assisted in trapping the whole team of James. So now James again packs all the stuff and leaves for Washington where Stephen is present. He makes his friend Lizzie buy the chemicals to make an explosive.
Making you a shopping list, Liz.
Then he makes everything necessary to take down Stephen with his own hands. The following day, James drives the van with the explosive in front of the building of Stephen. FBI is there to stop any potential casualties.
Freeze!
Also, Katie is there listening to the press conference of Stephen. She goes to Stephen and tells him that she knows about his drug and secret trials on the soldiers. She is going to write a report on him and tell all the public about his crimes.
I know you tested RD4895 on.
Suddenly, she catches a view of James sitting in the van nearby. He is waiting for Katie to go away from Stephen so that he can blast the explosive. But as soon as Katie understands the situation and steps away, Stephen has also come to know about James. He tries to escape, but James presses the button, exploding the whole van, which is very near Stephen's car. Although the explosion could not kill Stephen, it was able to burn half of his face. Then James comes out with his gun and shoots all the bodyguards of Stephen one by one. Eventually, he reaches Stephen, who is lying on the stairs and pleading for his life. But James shoots a bullet straight into his head, completing his revenge for his team. Katie is also hurt by the explosion, but she is still alive. James casts an eye on her, and then leaves in his car. As the FBI is already present nearby to stop any potential tragedy, James is in trouble because they are coming to catch him. James drives his car towards the highway, but his vehicle's cars are burst by the iron cage placed by FBI on the road. As soon as the car stops, the FBI starts shooting at the vehicle. But when they come near and see inside the car, James is not inside. He has already left, and is now running towards the forest. James breaks into a house, and treats his wound. He is shot by a bullet in his arm. Then he takes the necessary items from the garage, like maps of that area, and then leaves again for the forest. FBI is still searching for James, and also now the armed forces have joined them in the search. In the night, while it's raining heavily, James hides behind a big stone and spends his night there. He is in pain as his tumor is hurting him, but his mission is still incomplete as the Admiral and other officials are still alive, who let Stephen Horn try his drug on the soldiers without their permission. In the morning, the FBI and armed forces again start the search for James Reese. But James tricks them and runs away from them. In the chase, James has a clear target on the heads of the armed forces, but he doesn't shoot them as he knows that they are innocent. He leaves a bullet behind, symboling that he could have killed them if he wanted.
Means he had the shot, Leyoon.
Then James tries to come down from a mountain, but in doing this, he slips and falls on a big rock. In the night, James uses an ignition light to heat the knife, and then he uses the knife to burn his wound as he has not gotten any antiseptic for his wound yet. In the night, James has a radio phone through which FBI tries to convince him that he should surrender himself. But James says that he has to clear the debris from his department before surrendering. In the morning, soldiers try to find James by using a drone. Though James destroyed the drone, but soldiers have come to know his location. Before they come, James installs the bombs in the mud of the mountain. When soldiers come near him, he asks them to leave.
Back. Everybody back.
Otherwise he will blow the explosives. But the soldiers don't listen to him, so James presses the button of the blast. This causes landsliding, and all the soldiers fell down along with the landsliding. James is still alive, and helps an FBI agent by giving her CPR. He saves his life and then leaves through the canal nearby. At the designated location, James's friend is waiting for him, takes him to a safe location, and also treats his wounds. Now, it is time for the officials of the armed officers to pay off for their deeds. These three officers were Admiral Gerald, second is Commander Fox, and the third is Captain Howard. James and his friend Ben gather all the information about the activities of these officers. And when the time comes, James attacks Commander Fox. And also Ben attacks Captain Howard at the same time. James fights with Commander Fox and makes him unconscious. Though he is the pupil of Fox now, he has overpowered his own teacher. He remembers the days of his training when Fox used to bind James and his team with a large wooden log and make them bear the flow of water of the sea on the seashore. Now, James does the same with Fox. He binds him with the wooden log and makes him bear the flow of water. As Fox is alone in comparison to James, who used to be with his whole team, James could not bear the weight of the log and the flow of water combined. So, he dies in this way. On the other hand, Ben has taken the whole family of Howard. James comes there and asks Howard to do work for him.
You ready to do that favor for me?
Otherwise, he will kill his family. Howard agrees to act as James says to save his family. He goes to the office of Admiral Gerald and asks him to speak to James on the phone call.
That's for you, sir.
When James talks to him on the phone, he tells him that he has sent Howard with full preparation. Howard is wearing a jacket of explosive materials. As soon as James turns the call off, the explosion occurs, and both of them burn in it. Meanwhile, Katie has come to know that Stephen used the secretary of President Hartley to pass the bill for that drug. Also, there are shares of a secret company in that drug, so supposedly, it can be Hartley behind those shares. Katie writes her full report on Hartley and asks her boss to post it soon in the press.
Boldstream's biggest advantage is immediacy. How soon can you publish?
However, the attachment could not even reach her boss, as Hartley has the power to stop the emails. As soon as Katie learns that she is exposed in front of Hartley, she tries to leave the place, but Hartley comes there in the meantime. She acknowledges that she has stopped her email from delivering to her boss. Hartley tells her that Katie's email is not correct.
Unfortunately, it's wrong.
And if she wants to know the correct story, she has to come with her to Hartley's mansion. Katie agrees and they both go towards the mansion. James has also departed towards the mansion of Hartley. By the time he reaches there, it's night time, so he starts the attack in the night. He is fully prepared to kill Hartley no matter what, irrespective of his own life. He kills all the security officials protecting the mansion of Hartley one by one. Band is also helping James with a long-range sniper gun. He is giving a cover for James so that he can enter the main building of the mansion. Once inside the building, James uses the smoke grenades so that the enemies cannot see him. He himself uses special glasses to watch the attackers, and attacks them one by one. Meanwhile, Hartley is hiding inside the safe room with Katie. James makes a security officer open the door of the safe. Then he enters the safe room, where Katie stops James from killing Hartley as she knows that Hartley has no shares in the pharma company that made the drug. Though she allowed the trials on the soldiers secretly, Katie is confident that Hartley would live a life of disgrace in the future once the public learns about his immoral activities.
The whole world is gonna know she's a fucking disgrace.
For that reason, James does not have to kill Hartley, but listening to all this, Hartley herself fetches out a gun from her drawer and shoots herself. After that, James is going back through the route of the river when an FBI agent comes there. The agent asks him to stop.
Put your weapon down!
Otherwise, he will die. To this, James replies that he is already a dead person.
I'm already dead.
So, the agent lets him go. After some days, Katie successfully published her story and exposed all the evil faces of the illegal drug trials and killings of soldiers. She texts James that the secret company, whose owner is still unknown to them, has a bank account in Peru through which they can get the information of the owner. After some time, James replies that Katie has to stop looking for him because James has found the last of his enemies, and it is none other than his own friend, Ben. He is the owner of that company, which has shares in the manufacturing of the drug RD 4895. Also, Ben is in the CIA, so he was able to trap James and his team by giving the wrong intel. James is hurt by knowing that his own friend has betrayed him.
It's fucking you.
In the end, James points the gun at Ben and shoots him with tears in his own eyes.